Arif. Welcome to the channel Kahani's Golden Bytes. Thank you for taking your time to be on the channel, Arif.
Thank you, Joby. Nice to meet you. Very excited and looking forward to our conversation today.
Thank you, Arif. Thank you so much once again. Arif, for the benefit of our viewers, may I please request you to give a little background about yourself, a brief, Arif?
Yep. So I was born and brought up in a small town called as Raipur, which is part of Chhattisgarh state. A very small town upbringing. By education, I did chemical engineering. Post that, I went into a manufacturing industry to work as part of a plant in Bombay. There, I picked up some IT skills. I was part of ERP implementation there. A company called as Ramco Marshall was doing that implementation for that company. I picked up a little bit of IT skills, which drove me towards IT. And then that was my first step of a formal education. My father is a professor. He has taught in science colleges and he used to teach a Master of Science in chemistry and so on. So he advised me at that point of time to pursue a formal education before I switched from chemical engineering to information technology. So I pursued a formal postgraduate diploma, and then I moved on to IT industry in 2000. From there on, I have done a lot of digital, early days of digital, Java, JSP, JavaScript, to now implementing websites using latest cutting edge technologies. For last 20 plus years, I have been in the digital world.
That's amazing, Arif. That's just amazing. I just putting it in a snapshot, just amazing. So, Arif, you've been in the industry for IT industry for a couple of decades now,
Yes.
and you have worked with the biggest names in the country and across the world. These are household names across the world. So, Arif, your experience in working with these big multinationals is that time is sacrosanct, right? The delivery dates and what you commit to are absolutely to be stuck to, unless there's an exception, and those are by exception, right, Arif?
Yes, definitely. In fact, I have played various roles while I have been on digital. I started my career with technology as a developer and a coder. But then I got an opportunity to move to US, where I evolved from technology person to a salesperson, account management. So I've seen both parts of the world, which made me understand it is so difficult to sell. Right. So commitments on delivery makes sellers' jobs easier. So I'm very cognizant of that fact whenever I am on the delivery side of the thing, that we have to make sellers' jobs easier. Selling is not easy, right? Somebody to part with their money. While these are corporations, but there are human beings who are deciding to spend money with you, right? And from my personal experience, right, when we buy a refrigerator or a television, we debate so much, we do so much research, right? So spending money is a big decision. Delivery's job is to make it easier for sales guy to get that money spent from customers.
So, I'm going to come back to this, what we just mentioned, just that we just spoke about in a little bit. And Arif, if I may just take you to a different step altogether, and one of the main reasons why I requested you to be on this channel. You did your IT, and before that the BTech, and then you started working, right?
Yes.
And after that, you have now gone in for further studies a few years back, right?
Right.
And what was that? What is that field of studies that you pursued, Arif?
So I pursued a data science and a business analytics course after couple of decades of working in IT, where when you are junior enough, right, when you are a developer, when you are an architect, your organizations take you through a lot of technology enablement, right? So you're always current because you devote time to technology enablement, which is mostly sponsored by your companies. You get into classroom coaching and so on and so forth. As you evolve into the management side of the world, specifically when I went into sales and then when I came back to India, delivery management, the enablement that companies do typically go towards leadership and leadership development and so on, right? I realized that while I am doing a lot on leadership and development areas around leadership and personality, I have sort of lost pace with how technology is evolving.
Mm.
And I wanted to be very close to the technology. So I looked around, saw the need, and identified courses for business analytics and data science and pursued that for last couple of years.
Lovely, Arif. So that's triggered off a couple of questions in my head. Is one is working with the biggest IT companies that are the nuts and bolts and engine for the world, you would have had no time. Okay. I mean, time would be at a premium. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So, even with having a family, there's a big push and pull for family and, work, and each eating into each other's time. How did you manage this studies after a couple of decades? How did you manage to fit that in, Arif?
So it
Let me
was,
ask you,
yeah.
sorry, let me ask you a not so easy question. Was it easy?
No, it was not. It was very difficult. And typically, because from Indian IT services perspective, we are servicing customers who are in US and Europe and across the globe, right? So our time is at premium, not just during the daytime when we're working, but in the evenings when your customers and stakeholders need your time. So typically we have 14, 16-hour work days, right? Sleeping time itself is at a premium. So when I was deciding for a course, when I decided that this is the field of study, which is relevant and will enrich me and will help me in my job responsibilities, I looked for a course which allowed me to pursue it at my own time, weekends, right? So weekend is the only time which is available to me. I could not do anything which is evening course because my customers are there. I couldn't do anything which even involved Fridays. So it was strictly weekend courses, and that limited my choice a little bit. For example, I could not go into IIM being in Bangalore is one of the premier institutes, but they needed Fridays. I could not take off Fridays. So it limited my choice, but I found a course which allowed me to spend a lot of time studying over the weekend while my weekdays were fully dedicated to my work.
So, you managed somehow, between studies, between work and your family, all of them, pulling for attention. So, Arif, let me ask you, a very simple question. It's simple in the sense that it's simple for me to ask, but, would love to hear your views. The studies that you pursued, uh, did it add any value at all, or was it just a piece of paper? A lot of people who haven't pursued further studies seem to have an impression or a viewpoint. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, that it's a piece of paper. Was it for you? Was it for you?
So for me, it is very valuable. I use it day in and day out in my job. I think the key to success here is you select the relevant field of study. I looked around and I saw what is really important for me to do my job, right? Which are the technical skills which my customers are looking for, what I am using to deliver to my customers. And I pursued and enriched my knowledge in that. And then I use it day in and day out in what I am doing, right? And that's why I specifically did not go for an MBA or a postgraduate program, which is now more towards just developing my personality. I thought I should study technology, which is relevant to my day-to-day job.
So you just did not want, to do something, to tell people and have it on your CV that I've done a master's. You were trying to, pursue something that was very relevant. That's
Yes,
what
yes,
you
because yeah, you're taking away so much time from your family, your leisure time, your weekends, right? I sacrificed a lot over 2 years while I pursued this course. It was not easy. So I do not want to just get a piece of paper. At my stage in the career, I think the value of piece of paper is not that much. If I have to sacrifice my personal time, my family time, leisure time, and so on, I wanted it to be really valuable for me.
So Arif, you've worked across the world with different segments, different industries. Now, one of the things that would be, you'd be aware of is that at least internationally, almost everywhere, they're not concerned about your qualifications, okay, where you've done what you've done. They more seem to be more keen on your deliverables and how you come across, etc., in terms of, what has been, agreed upon in various, contracts, etc. Okay, what's been agreed. Even then, you pursued this, and that was for your own good, for your own personal development. Is that right?
That is right. That is for my own personal development, ultimately leading into me doing my job better, right? At the end of the day, while I am developing myself, it has to be relevant to what my job is. So that was the key.
So Arif, now that you've been through the journey, in the sense that you're working, you've took the next step of further studies, in terms of academics, and now you're back to work. So given that experience, what would you wish to tell people who are in a similar phase that you were at one point in time, which meant you hadn't gone for further studies, okay, your next round, so to speak, you hadn't gone for that, but so that segment which is considering or contemplating, should I go for it, should I not go for it, kagaz hi to hai, what do I do, should I, what will be your advice based on your experience, what you've been through, Arif?
Yeah. So two things. One is I believe, and that might be because of my background. As I said, my father was a professor, my wife is a teacher, my sister is a teacher, right? So I always felt that no education is ever gone to waste. Education always enriches you, right? So education will never go for a waste is my core belief. The second thing is, if you have to be successful in pursuing something like this, you should list down your constraints and enlist your family's support. What I was taking away when I was pursuing this course was time away from my family, those weekend outings, those weekend trips, those rides to the malls, right? Not spending enough time playing with my kids. Family support is really, really the key. If your family is not supportive of that, if you don't prepare them for this, you will not be successful. Right. So any course which really adds value is very intensive. I spent 16 to 18 hours over the weekend studying, taking classes, doing coursework, completing my projects and taking tests. Right. So it is all very intensive course. Unless your family is supportive, unless now you have lined up their support to say that they are willing to sacrifice along with you. It is not just your sleep that you are sacrificing. You're sacrificing your kids' time, your family's time. That is the key to the success.
So you were able to, you're lucky enough, you were able to get the support of your family, and that becomes the
Yes.
key, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Arif, you've got, you had the benefit of family support backing you, you were completely committed. Now since you were working, what is the role of the organization? Does that play a role? Some may allow, some may not allow. Does the organization that you work for play any important role, any role at all?
Definitely. And more than the organization, I feel your manager plays a key role, right? So when I was pursuing this course, when I decided that I'm going to do that, I sat with my manager. I explained the reasons that I want to do this, and I enlisted her support that for weekends, I might be busy doing this course, right? And I also told her what benefit the organization will get once I complete this course, what organization will drive out of this. So she was very supportive. My manager was very supportive of that. I got a lot of time on weekends. Sometimes our jobs involve a lot of weekend work. So I was able to realign my work timings over the weekends if I have to do that, so that I can devote time to my classroom sessions. That was very important. Organizations also can support you by reimbursing part or full of the fees. So that also plays a role depending upon how expensive the course is. As organizations are willing to pick up a part of that course because you're going to add value to the organization. That is an important support that you can always enlist.
So that is great. So the organization supporting you, and the key being your immediate manager, because that's more day to day, so to speak, and rather than the holistic policy, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
both being the key is what you
Both
mentioned.
being the key.
Yeah.
Yes.
Arif, I know you're busy working on various different, time zones across. I won't take more of your time. I want to thank you once again for taking out time to share a little bit about, your views on this subject, Arif. Thank you so much for coming on the channel.
Thank you so much, Joby. It was pleasure chatting with you, and good luck with further sessions of recording as well.
Thank you, Arif.